everybody and welcome to another reading vlog. This is week 2 of Becca's Bookoplathon. It's Monday. I'm currently in the middle of Lost Book of the White. I'm 60 pages into this. My audiobook is Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker, but I haven't started it yet. And this morning I just rolled again for our next roll, which was a physical read. Here's my roll. Good morning, viewers. If you're keeping up on my rolls for the month, it is currently the 7th of the month and we're rolling for day 8. Today I thought we'd go with a physical read. I kind of want to get ahead on rolls for physical reads because the way I pace physical reads is weird. And I mean, my audiobook, I barely started, so it's not going to get finished today. So we're going to roll for a physical read so we can kind of get ahead of it. 6. Still no doubles. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. TBR vet. Alright. Okay, so I gotta think about this because I have like TBR vets and then TBR vets. So we landed on TBR vet and I wasn't sure which way to go because I have many veteran books on my shelf. I have things I've had since I was like under 10, so like 15 years old. I have stuff I've had for like over 10 years, 5 years, and then I had 2 things that were in my 2018 purchases section. Like I have my TBR shelf kind of grouped into sections, and I have 2 things left on my 2018 purchases section. I think there's a few things that were 2018 purchases that are elsewhere, but they kind of fell into other categories. But this section had only 2 books in it, and I was like, you know what, 2018's long enough. You can be a vet. So for this, I'm gonna read The Last Name Sarah by Kristen Cicerelli. This is I think she's a dragon hunter. A dragon slayer, destroyer, deathbringer, dragon slayer. I am more weapon than girl. This is a trilogy and of companion novels, I think, and all of the books are out as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure what I'm going to think about this. I might end up DNFing it. I don't know. It's been like on the border of unhauling for a while, but something made me keep it. So I think that's a good reason to pick it up as a vet. Like if it's got long enough on my shelf that I'm starting to lose interest but wasn't sure, you're a vet. And so we'll see how I go with this. We might end up DNFing it, but hey, at least it's coming off my shelf. This also has like inserted POVs of like diary something or something going on. It looks interesting. I don't know that much about it, but I believe they're companion novels, so they should kind of wrap up decently on its own. I know April has this as well, so what I think might influence what she thinks of it when she gets around to reading it. Like she might, I was like, if I hate it, you can unhaul it, is what I said in the group chat. But we'll see how things progress. But that's going to be my next physical read once I finish this. I might finish this today, but I think it's more likely going to be tomorrow morning. And then this will be like being read tomorrow. But yeah. We'll see how it goes. I hope this is working now. It's like 8:30 Monday night. I should have been reading. I went to work for a few hours and I think it just kind of like threw my brain off. So I haven't done any reading tonight. But I'm making the effort to get into it. I have read a bit of my audiobook today. I'm listening to Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. And I'm enjoying it so far. I'm about 35% of the way through. It's interesting. Frustratingly, I think, having read The Song of Achilles, I've read the Iliad as well, but The Song of Achilles was really poignant in its character development. And I think it's kind of infiltrated my brain a little bit because sometimes I have to like switch off of like, no, that's not from the Iliad, that's from Song of Achilles, that was added on to that and isn't relevant to this. Like I have to actively like deconstruct some of my character building my head is done because of Song of Achilles to like then reconstruct it within this lens in which the characters are not at all like they are in Song of Achilles, both of which are just semi from the same source material, so that's fine, like that's legit. But my brain's just like, no, he's not like that. And I have to like actively deconstruct, but it's fine, we're getting there, we're doing it. Overall, I am really enjoying it. It's really interesting. I want to see more. Not much has happened yet in terms of the scale of the Iliad. There is a lot more to go, but we've also got a lot more book left to go. So I'm interested to see what kind of things it focuses on going forwards, etc, etc. Hoping to maybe finish that tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe Wednesday. Any rate, I'm going to settle in now with this boy and try and get as far as I can before I fall asleep. Might not be very far, but we're gonna attempt it. Alright, so I'm about to go to bed. It's just hit 11 o'clock. And I just finished my chapter of Lost Book of the White. I'm on page 230 now, so about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through, I would say. Over halfway. I'm not loving this, but there are some things I'm really enjoying and some things I'm just like about. My things. The plot in this is super slow going. Like, they're doing a lot of nothing for plot progression. Just kind of wandering around hoping info falls in their laps. That bothers me. Also, just like, I know a plot like this is hard because this is obviously set between two previous books, so we know everyone makes it out alive, so there's like no stakes. So that's always going to be difficult, but I think then it needed to lean towards a super fast-paced plot, so it was like, what's going to happen next is the interesting bit, but this seems like it reads like the stakes should be high, but they're not. Things I like is the campiness. Just, I think book 1 I ended up giving 5 stars because I think the campy was like, the pacing was fast and fun, and then the campiness was constant throughout. This, I feel like, just has, when it's there, I'm like actively laughing out loud, but when it's not there, I'm bored. Another thing I'm really enjoying is, like, this is probably like spoilers if you don't want them for this, but and it's not a huge spoiler, but they end up in a demon dimension again, you know, again. And this one is kind of reminiscent of the Chinese afterlife, and the dimensions of, like, the Chinese purgatory. I've read other stuff centered around that, like, theme before, but I don't know the right words for it off the top of my head. And this is a demon dimension that's like set to run like that. I'm loving that, but I think because it has so much great setup in this instance for campiness, and it's actually like interesting, whereas so far a lot of this was like interesting, like settings, learning more about Shanghai and the Shanghai Institute and how downworld and like shadow hunting is done in Shanghai, but like there's no plot drive because the stakes aren't there, and yeah, nothing was happening fast enough to keep me on my toes. I was just bored, but that started to pick up now that they're in this demon dimension. Like, things are happening finally, and I'm like wanting to know what's going to happen next. But yeah, it was a bit too slow. I also complained in the first book about how, like in this trilogy, about how we were cock-blocked constantly. This time it's almost the opposite. At first I was like, oh god, we're still being cock-blocked, but instead they're like making out and fading to black all the time, but like super fade to black. And this isn't meant to be marketed as an adult series, so I don't know what that's about. Like, you didn't need to fade to black, you could have just gone a bit further there. And like, otherwise I don't know why these are marketed as adult. There's nothing more adult in them than any of the other Shadowhunter books. I don't understand, but like there's that, but then also they're just like kissing all the time, even like, and it'll be just like oh yes, we got through this little bit of a battle sequence and I wanted to make sure you're okay, so I came over to give you a hug, and then it turned into a deep kiss. Like, no, no. Like, it's making it kind of meaningless. I don't know, I don't like it. It's just, and they all try to be like a deep moment, but for like no reason. There's no chemistry built into those moments. So I'm not loving that. But yeah, the funnies when they happen are hilarious. And I love them. But, you know, overall currently, if I was to rate this book right now, and obviously I got quite a bit left, so I'm not going to do that. But like, if I was to rate this right now, I would give it a 3-star. And I gave the first book like 4.5 stars. So that's nice for me. I'm interested to see what the plot of book 3 is. Because like, these are called the Elder Curses, I think. The Eldest Curses, yes. Which you either found out on the first one and I just can't remember, or you found out in this one what the Eldest Curses are. And so I'm interested to see when book 3 takes place and what its plotline is, because these are all like kind of standalone adventures that are building to obviously the bigger story of the Eldest Curses. But like, I want to know more. But maybe that's explained a bit more in the last bit. But anyway, I should be finishing this tomorrow. But like, today was just not a good reading day, really. I read a decent amount, but like, I could have finished this today if I was reading better from earlier in the day. But the mojo was just not there. So I have like 120 pages to go. So I'll like read half of that in the morning, half of that in the afternoon probably. And then chug in on the last Namzara. And I'm going to pick an audiobook tomorrow as our roll. Because I'm definitely not finishing the last Namzara tomorrow night. So I think it's definitely safe to pick another audiobook. Yeah, that's where we're at. I've been talking for 6 minutes about like basically nothing. Ciao. Alright, good morning. I just did my next roll for day 9, which is my 11th roll.
Shit, what's today? It's day 8. We're rolling for day 9 for Becca's Bookoplathon. And today I think we're going to roll for an audiobook. Ooh, a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. POC rep. Okay.
And we didn't get doubles again. And I landed on POC rep. So for this I'm picking Moon of the Crusted Snow by Geshig. I just listened to it and it was in my head and now I've lost it. Moon of the Crusted Snow by Geshig Rice. I checked the pronunciation in the audiobook because I didn't want to screw it up. So I hope they made sure that was right for the audiobook. This is Own Voices Anatnabe? Is that, am I confusing too? Or what? No. Anishinaabe. So it's about an Own Voices Anishinaabe story about a little community with winter looming. So it's a post-apocalyptic novel, and this community gets cut off and everyone's panicking and struggling, and that's the story. It's a relatively short audiobook, which kind of factored into my decision, but I've had this on my TBR for ages. I'm very excited to read it. I want to read more works by Indigenous American authors, and I want to read more works by Indigenous Australian authors too. I also have another one. I have Catch and Tell a Crow by Amberlyn and Ezekiel Quay-Molina out from my, or on reserve for my library, so hopefully it'll come in. Oh, it's saying 23rd of September, but I'm hopeful to read it this month, maybe and fit it in later in the month, which is an Indigenous Australian story. But yeah, I want to read more Indigenous voices across the world, so I have had this on my TBR for a while and I'm glad to get around to it. Alrighty, I want to do a little check-in. Technically I haven't finished anything today, but I have thoughts on everything I've read. So I'm like a couple of chapters out from finishing Lost Book of the White, and I'm about to do that now, but I want to check in and say it is getting better. The second half I'm definitely preferring because things are happening. I think the first half was just too slow to make up for the, like, not enough was happening to make up for the fact that there's no stakes. But now that things are happening, it's fun. We're enjoying it. It's feeling a bit more closer to a 4-star. It's definitely not a 5-star book, but it's probably more like 3.5, 3.75 now. But we've got 3.5 chapters left. I've also been listening to The Silence of the Girls, which I should finish today as well while I'm cooking dinner. And I don't know how to feel about this. I like the perspectives, but and I was especially liking the first half. I'm liking the one perspective, I should say. One thing I'm not enjoying is I assumed this was going to have perspectives from multiple women involved in the conflict, and I think I would have liked that book more. Have I confused two books? Like, is there another Trojan War retelling? Like, does the Penelope ad focus more on... No, because that should just be Penelope. Like, I want something that explores perspectives from many... Like, there are so many characters you could look at. You could look at Helen. You could look at Breezius, who is the one that's here, just Achilles' slave. Like, you could look at a lot of characters, including, like, Achilles' mum. Like, there are so many women involved here that you could have included perspectives from, and it would have made for a more well-rounded story, in my opinion. But instead, the first half, we're just following Breezius. It's interesting. It's highlighting brutalities that kind of get brushed over in the glory of war. That's fun. Second half, we suddenly pick up Achilles' perspective, which I think adds nothing unless, like yes, of course, it provides context of what's going on. But if you're familiar enough already with the Trojan War, the Iliad, you've read something else, like some of Achilles or any other Iliad retellings, you're familiar with the process of what's happening in the war. Like, Achilles is kind of talking about after Breezius gets taken by Agamemnon, he kind of takes over a bit to talk about his decision to not take part, and then Patroclus, like, going, and then him being like, I kill Patroclus, and then going and kill Hector, you know what I mean, that bit. Achilles has kind of taken over his own story here, and I kind of don't know why. Like, why? Why did you, like, are we focusing, you could have focused on all of that from Helen's perspective. And that would have, and from, like, Hector and, like, the Trojans, like, take that side. Like, not from Hector's perspective, but from the women inside Troy. Like, by staying so far on the Greek side and only in Breezius' head as the only woman, and then Achilles, like, there are so many perspectives that it's now cut out, and I don't understand if the point of this is to be, like, the voice for the women who, it's not. It's the voice for one slave girl, and it doesn't really reflect the whole voice of women present in the Iliad. Like, you could go so much further and do so much more, but it's not. I don't know. I've only got, like, less than an hour of actual listening to go, so we'll see how it ends. But yeah, I'm not loving it. I like the writing, I like what it is doing, but I feel like it's not doing enough for what it was marketed as. But we'll see what I end up rating it by the time we get to the end. Anyway, I'm gonna settle in and finish, oh sorry, Lost Book of the White now, and then jump back to The Silence of the Girls while I cook dinner. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so I finished Lost Book of the White. I've set it at 3 stars. It's probably like a 3.5. The ending was super convenient and quick, but it was a fun time for the second half. First half, bored except for a handful of funnies. Second half, a good time, but the ending was pretty convenient. So 3 stars overall, which is a bit of a shame because I really enjoyed the first book, but again, it was campy and corny, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, I think this at times took itself a bit too seriously, especially knowing that everyone comes out of this all right. I am really interested to see what time period book 3 is taking place in. Even though the epilogue of this kind of like made some hints about what it's going to be about, I'm interested to see like when it's set. And if there's going to be a delay in it coming out. I'm guessing it's going to be set after Dark Artifices and before Wicked Powers would be my guess, like in that gap. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It just wasn't everything it could have been. Let's just say that. So I've got a 3 stars. I'm going to read a few chapters of The Last Name Sarah now while I wait for Jessie and Brayden to get home, and then I'll start cooking dinner and finish Silence of the Girls. So that's my plan. Good morning. It is Wednesday morning. I just got back from work, ate some food, and then I did the rolls. Here it is.
Alright, so today is, I don't even know what day it is. We're rolling for roll 12. And we're going to do a physical read. 9. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is a chance card. Alright, let's see what this guy is. Clariel. That was on my like bad end, but none of my bad ends were bad. So that's what we picked.
So today we rolled chance and got Clariel by Garth Nix. This is a prequel to the Old Kingdom Chronicles, which the first book is Sabriel, so like the Sabriel Lyriel Aborson trilogy. And this is a prequel, Clariel. There's also a sequel book to the original trilogy, which is called Golden Hand, which I also own. But Clariel was our pick. It's a bit chunky. It's like almost 400 pages, but they are fast paced and easy to read, so that should be on our side. Doesn't have much bonus stuff. It has a few little bonus things in the back. I'm excited about this. It was my like negative list of picks, but honestly none of them were that negative. They were just things I was less excited for but still would happily read. So yeah, it does mean that more of the like highly anticipated stuff are getting knocked off my TBR, as in like we're never going to fit them in this month because there's too many. But hey, we're excited to read Clariel. We're gonna get it read. It's been a while. So I'm almost 100 pages into The Last Name Sarah. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was considering reading 50 pages and then like assessing whether I wanted to keep going, get to 100 pages, consider whether I'm going to feel like going. Currently, I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. I think what I'm not loving is the world building is a little confusing. I'm also kind of not a fan of the presence of slaves in this story. I hope it's critiqued well, but I'm scared. Like, that's not like an automatic like, oh, it's a bad book just because it features slaves. But I hope it provides a good critique of slavery, not a mediocre one. And yeah, the world building's a bit confusing generally. Things are getting introduced left, right and center, and I'm a bit confused, but I'm interested in the characters and the character dynamics. I do also think the writing style isn't perfect for me. It's letting me, so I am like kind of a skim reader, like I can't remember what it's called, where you don't actually read every word. I don't sub-vocalize most of the time. That's like where you read every word in your head. I don't do that most of the time, but it does mean that certain writing styles, sometimes I will miss things if they're not given weight in the narrative in a particular way. Like I'll miss a sentence like I'll read it but it won't go in my brain properly, and that'll be like important to what's happening in the scene. And that's happened a few times where I've been like, hang on, what is happening in this scene? I'm confusing. So that is a problem I'm finding, but it's only happened a couple of times so far, and I'm hopeful that the better I get with the world building, the better that will go. Yeah, I'm still currently pretty intrigued. I'm gonna keep going. Yeah, I'm not loving it. It's currently like a 3-star read, but not enough for me to DNF, if that makes sense. Like it's not bad. And we'll give the world building a chance to like settle. So it's like just hit 5 o'clock. I have been listening to Moon of a Crusted Snow today, and I've been loving it. It's dark but super interesting. Like on the realm of post-apocalyptic, it's like it is post-apocalyptic, but it's really highlighting the survival nature of Indigenous American communities and their strong like sense of community, but also sense of survival. Like there was this beautiful scene, like if I was reading it physically I would have like annotated it for sure, where the auntie, like one of the old women of the tribe, who still carries a lot of the history and traditional culture, says, oh, these young people, they're calling it the apocalypse, but we've already had that. They drove us from our land and we survived, and they took our kids and we survived. Are we gonna survive this? And it was just so beautiful. I'm 70% of the way through. I've got less than an hour to go listening, and I'm gonna finish it while I'm cooking dinner. But yeah, I am loving it, and I think it's really powerful. So at the moment I'm switching over to The Last Name Sarah. This is going by quite fast. Like it's fast to read, but I'm still not sure if I'm liking it. Decision making from the characters is a bit iffy. Like I don't really know why they're doing the things they're doing. But yeah, it's very much a 3-star read currently. We'll see how that changes. Oh, I got an email. Oh, it was a boring one. Yeah, like I'm not loving it at all. But I'm intrigued enough for the plot to kind of know where it goes. But like want to know where it goes. But I'm hoping, because it's super fast paced, maybe I'll get close to, if not actually finishing it tonight. So I'd love to get it over and done with. Yes. I don't even know what to say. I have no feelings. I'm neutral as shit. Okay, there was just a weird romantic moment that wasn't romantic at all, because there's like no chemistry between the characters. Which sucks, but mainly because I feel like I don't really know the characters at all. Like, character development has been so patchy. The main character, Asha, we're talking about The Last Name Sarah, by the way. Our main character, Asha, is a dragon slayer, but for a weird reason. The world building's very specific, but also very vague on its timeline and stuff. But the kingdom used to be friendly with the dragons and they supported each other. Then something happened. Hint, hint. People took slaves. And the dragons were like, nope. But everyone's like, oh, the dragons just turned on us, because they don't want to admit that it's a bad thing that they have slaves. And the dragons, so now the dragons are like evil. And there's also these like stories that are like ancient stories, which have some kind of power, and it can kill you if you speak them. Or at least her mother died from speaking them, and she thinks her brother's also dying from speaking them. But she always spoke them and nothing bad happened. In fact, speaking them draws dragons. but also allows them to breathe fire. And so it's like outlawed, you're not allowed to speak them. She does it in secret though, of course. But when she was a kid, she was speaking the stories to like the original dragon. So he's like the king dragon kind of thing. And something happened, but she has no recollection of it. And then he burned the city. And then ever since then, the whole town thinks she's cursed. She's the princess, by the way, like the daughter of the king. And she's cursed. And so to like alleviate her curse, her dad's like, okay, you can marry this asshole who's like the head of the military and a fully like psychopath, or you can slay the head dragon. So she's been slaying dragons left, right, and center. That's like her job. And yeah, it's super patchy, this characterization of like how she developed this personality, and the personality is very flat. And now she's having like a kind of romance with the slave guy, who's her like fiance, psychopath slave. And the relationship between the people in power and slavery, and like how slavery is discussed in this world, is strange to me. It reminds me a bit of like Greco-Roman, we take over an area and we take the women and children as slaves, like that kind of thing. But also like not a slave trade in like the more modern sense, but in like the conquering, make the people we directly conquer, we're gonna live here and they're our slaves. I know there's not that much of a distinction, but like, you feel. Yes, the use of slavery, like the inclusion of slavery in this world, is strange to me. I don't think it's really delving deep enough into slavery as an issue to really have bothered including it. I don't really get that. Yeah, our main character Ashley is very one-dimensional. She's super selfish. She's also like, fuck the dragons, but also like is getting these commandments from kind of like a god figure. Honestly, I'm so confused. But like it's not super clear. It drops things, and then some of the later things will make earlier things make sense, but it kind of just drops them as you need to know them. Just not ideal. So there's this like god figure who like comes to her in her dreams or whatever, comes to her, gives her these gifts and says you have to like do a thing for the gift, and it's all like, you're not gonna kill the dragon, but like if you don't use these gifts in the way that I want, you'll like be paralyzed basically. And yeah, I just feel like the character development is like nothing. Like, I don't understand her as a person. I don't understand why she makes the decisions she makes. I feel like I have no personal history of her. She's got some kind of amnesia of the time she was with the fire, but like, and then the slave guy who she's kind of got like, I think it's meant to be a flirtationship, but honestly they just hate each other and now suddenly they like almost kissing. He also is just like a slave who has a bit of a backbone, so doesn't like look her in the eye when he's not meant to. So there's like no chemistry, and I think this is meant to be like a YA fantasy, not a fantasy romance, but like romance is a heavy subplot as it is in much YA fantasy. Not feeling it. Like I feel like I know more about the psychopathic Beyonce, even though his only personality trait is he's a psychopath. Like, everyone is super like one-dimensional, and the decision making moving the plot forward is not clear to me in the slightest. But hey, at this point I want to know how it ends and where it's trying to go. So I think if I work hard, I could finish it tonight. Let's try. Okay, I have over 100 pages left. I'm definitely finishing this tonight because that 50 pages took me like half an hour. And it's only 9 o'clock. So we're gonna finish this at like 10 o'clock. Honestly, that kind of had a climax conclusion and we got 100 pages left. And now it's thrown in this secondary plot that it didn't lay groundwork for. And I'm not enjoying it. Like, I mean, it's fine. Just like, there was nothing there. Also, the climax that we just had was like half too predictable and half like came out of nowhere. And now I've got this like sudden pivot in direction of plot. I mean, it's like, it's not that much of a pivot. But all the development for it came out of nowhere. Like, there was no development for it. Like, it was predictable, but not well developed. And yeah, now it's going in a totally different direction for like a secondary climax. And it feels like it should be done. Like, why are we still here? But hey. Yeah, I don't know. Everything is all over the place in this. I'm quickly leaning lower and lower in my star rating. Currently we're sitting on like a 2-star. But we'll see how I'm feeling over the next 100 pages, I guess. But the moment, this is now a 2-star. Is Torwin, that's the love interest, is he a manic pixie dream boy? Because honestly, he has no personality. But she just... he gets into scrapes for her to get him out of. Like, maybe he's like the male Mary Sue. Like, he's just there to kind of get fridged. He's not dead yet. I don't think he's gonna die. But he just gets put into... He seems smart and well put together and like... But somehow he keeps getting captured for her to free him, like, over and over again. I'm over it. So there was an unnecessary character death and I am mad about it. God, why is this book so irritating? Oh. So I just finished Last Name Zara by Kristen Cicerelli. I'm giving this 2 stars. For all the reasons previously mentioned. The ending didn't fix it. I think the romance still had zero chemistry. I didn't get it. Everything was kind of given to you. All the knowledge was kind of given to you at the time you needed it. So there's like no foreshadowing, no strong world building. The characters were all really one-dimensional. Yeah. It could have been worse. This was getting a 2. But I rarely give 2 stars. I have to get really frustrated with a book for it to get 2 stars. So I think it says a lot. I'm kind of bummed because the 3rd book in this series is a sapphic romance. Which would be cool if I could trust the author to write chemistry. But at this point, we can't. So I'm not going to bother. I'll probably unhaul this. Yeah, I wasn't impressed. We're gonna move on. I'm gonna go to bed, but before I do, I'll probably read a chapter or 2 of Clariel, just to get the ball rolling on this. But yeah, so we'll finish 2 books today. Look at us go. We're gonna roll for an audiobook tomorrow. And yeah, tomorrow's gonna be the last day of this vlog, and then we'll start another weekend vlog. So I'll check in with you tomorrow and see where we're at. I've been meaning to film this clip all day and keep forgetting, so you've got me eating lunch. It's like 2 o'clock. We've already got to the supermarket. I've already, in fact, finished the audiobook that I rolled this morning. So here was the roll I did this morning.
Hello, it's day 10 and we're rolling for roll 13. This is going to be an audiobook because I currently don't have one. I've already finished the last one, and let's go. A 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something with water on the cover. We've had an audiobook with water on the cover already, but let's find another one.
And I ended up picking Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water by Zen Cho. This is a, I think it's pronounced Wuxian story. It's like Chinese martial arts. And it's campy and funny and silly. While also being like, bow, bow. And yeah, I don't know, it was funny. It's only a novella and I finished it already. And I gave it 4 stars. There are casual trans characters. Both discussion and specific characters. It's definitely mature in its themes. We follow a monk. She's from the Order of the Pure Moon Reflected in Water, and they're like a she's not meant to have sex with really at the start. It's hilarious. She's like, we don't have sex with people. And I mean, it doesn't mean we can't, but if we do, we have to give up a sacrifice. And that sacrifice is the penis of the man. And all the men are like, damn it. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know if I really understood it to the full extent of someone who's much more familiar with the genre would understand it. Like, I feel like I got the bare minimum appreciation from it, but I still found it really funny and entertaining. So there's that. So then I wrote again. Obviously for another audiobook. I haven't started it yet, but I'm going to start it soon.
Alright, and so we finished our first roll for the day. It was a short audiobook, so here's the second roll. So this is roll 14. We're on day 10. Actually, I think this is for day 11, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And that's a 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A big book. Oh.
So we landed on big book. And for this, I'm going to read A Peculiar Peril by Jeff Vandermeer. This is a YA release, which I didn't realize for a long time. Jeff Vandermeer normally writes like adult sci-fi. This is YA. Apparently, I've heard it's very weird and you either love it or hate it. And it's like 650 pages. So it definitely means big book. The audiobook's probably going to take me like the rest of the week for sure. Like, I'll be working on it tomorrow. It's like 22 hours, so it's like 11 hours of audiobook listening. So even then, I might still be reading it early next week. But I'm really interested in reading it. If I'm not liking it, I will DNF it. I'm not going to be an asshole to myself. But I think it's the right amount of weird that I will enjoy. Jeff Vandermeer's always giving me that vibe. That it's the kind of weird that I will enjoy. I think it's also meant to be questy. I love that. I'm also just under 50 pages into Clariel. Obviously I'm going to work on this all tonight. Yeah, I'm on page 46. I don't know if I'll be able to finish it tonight, but we're going to do our best to get as far through it as we can. Because we'll roll another physical read tomorrow. Actually, probably every day the rest of the weekend now that we've drawn that big ass audiobook. And still, we've had no Bookopoly doubles. For 14 rolls, no doubles. And I watched someone's TBR the other day. She was only going to do 8 rolls. And she ended up with like 21 books because of the amount of doubles she rolled. Like, how have I survived? I don't know. I also have some exciting books in the mail. Lights Away by Darcy Little Badger is on its way. Cemetery Boys by Ed Thomas is on its way. And Drown Country, which is the sequel to Silver in the Wood by Emily Tesh, is on its way. As in they've actively shipped. They're like a few days away from me. So I'm hoping to get like all of those on the TBR before the end of the month, if I can. Cemetery Boys is obviously suitable for spoopy October. So like, if I don't get to that, that's not the end of the world. But I really want to read. I mean, technically, Lights Away could be 2 years, like ghosts and shit and that. But we're going to try and fit some of them on my TBR because I'm excited about them. Alright, I'm going to get back to work, start listening to A Peculiar Peril, finish my lunch. And yeah. Okay, to quickly wrap up this vlog, I'm going to edit it this morning, so I'll just go on it, but I got about 10% through A Peculiar Peril yesterday. Hoping to get a bit further through it today. It's very weird. I don't not like it. I don't know if I like it yet. I'm not quite sure what's going on, to be fair. But I'm enjoying the ride. It's a really interesting riding style, but I'm finding it a bit hard to focus on the plot. But I don't know whether that's because there's no plot yet or I'm just not getting it. But unlike listening to audiobook, maybe it's just not absorbing in my head. But the writing style is really interesting. I saw someone describe it as like a Douglas Adams kind of thing. Yeah, I feel that. Similarly nonsensical. So I think that might be contributing. But I'm enjoying the ride, so we'll keep going on that for now. And I'm halfway through Clariel and hoping to finish it today, which is Thursday, but you'll see how I go with that in the next vlog. So I'm on just over page 200. I'm enjoying it, but I do think I was I was joking about like how I felt like it needed to pick up, like it was getting to that point where if it had continued on the same trajectory I was going to start getting bored, and then conveniently did a 180 and plot happened, and now I'm really excited to keep reading. So I'm interested to see where it's going to go from here. This book is somewhat of a villain origin story, but I don't know to what extent how far that's going to go. This follows like 600 years before the birth of the main character in the main series, but it's following a character who then appears in that series, if that makes sense. And that character is evil in the main series, neutral evil, I'd say. I think it's low-key a villain origin story, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I'm hopeful to finish this today. I am enjoying it. Would have been great if Tim Curry narrated the prequel and then the Golden Hand, which is the next one that was written after this one, which were like much later than the original trilogy, because Tim Curry's narration of the original trilogy was so good. I would have continued listening to these on audiobook, but alas, Tim Curry didn't narrate them, so we're not going there. It won't be the same. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's gotten a bit brutal, which is what I needed from it. Like, it needed to turn brutal, and it has, so I'm very happy. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this vlog. If you tune into the next time, you'll see what dice roll I made today, but I'm going to keep that a secret for the next vlog. But yeah, check back in with me in a couple of days for the weekend reading vlog. Hope you're enjoying Becca's Bookoplathon, and you're having a great time. See you next time. Bye.